Welcome to the House Committee on Economic Development. It is Friday, February 11th, 10 a.m. We are in conference room 312. I would like to ask that professional testifiers please do stand on your testimony when possible. First up, we have HB 1502 relating to safe neighborhoods. First testifier today is the Attorney General.
Good morning, Chair Quinlan, members of the committee, Deputy Attorney General Adrian Daco on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General. The department is opposed to this bill. It undercuts existing law, and what the bill seeks to accomplish can already be achieved with what's currently in place. If geographical restrictions are not being recommended by the prosecutors, that's an issue that can be addressed with the prosecutors. If the judges are not issuing geographical restrictions for these types of defendants, that's an issue that could also be addressed separately. You don't need to pass this bill to accomplish what you're intending to. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Next up, we have David Moskowitz in support. He is not here. Okay, members' questions. Seeing none, moving on to HB 1702 relating to taxation. First up, we have no tax for comments.
Thank you, Chair. This bill needs a lot of work. What this bill is saying is it's going to take a residential property that's sold by seniors and putting them into the ordinary income tax rate instead of the capital gains rate that you guys are trying to do. So this bill is written wrong. I think what you guys are trying to do is say, hey, old folks, if you sell your residential house, that will exempt you from capital gain. So I believe that you can do that through 235 2.3 in the conformity bill and using IRS code section 121, which is the third bullet point on our comments. So you may want to work on this a little bit more. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have Tax Foundation with comments.
Thank you, Chair and members. Tom Yamachika from the Tax Foundation. We do agree that the bill as written doesn't accomplish what it's supposed to do, and we do agree that work is needed to accomplish what it's supposed to. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Members' questions? Seeing none, moving on to HB 1982 relating to taxes. First up, we have no tax with comments.
We stand on our written comments, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chris Lee in support.
Morning, Chair, members of the committee. Stand on our testimony and available for questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Debed with comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand in support with comments. We especially support the extension of the 10 years to 2032. However, we defer to the Department of Taxation and all the other fiscal impacts regarding loan outs, et cetera. So we did offer comments, and thank you for the opportunity here to answer the questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tax Foundation with comments.
Thank you, Chair. Our comments are organized into three different areas. One, regarding the withholding tax for payments to loan companies. We don't have a problem with that. Elimination of reasonable basis defense to penalty for erroneous credit claim. We do have a problem with that because it would impose basically a strict liability standard on any credit, not only the movie credit, but anywhere a credit is claimed. And that would penalize innocent mistakes where the excessive amount is the result of inadvertence, mathematical error, or were otherwise defined as innocent. So we think that's a bit harsh. GET withholding, we don't have a problem as long as it's moved into the GET law. Right now, it's impossible to find. If it's in the income tax law and as a GET withholding requirement, that's going to be tough for normal people to find. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Next, we have NPAA in support. Not here. Okay, members' questions. Seeing none, moving on to HB 1983 relating to DBED. First up, we have DBED with comments.
Thank you very much, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our comments and happy to answer any questions. Look forward to working with the committee and the industry on this measure.
Thank you very much. Members' questions? Seeing none, moving on to HB 2082 relating to economic development. First up, we have DBED in support.
Good morning, Chair Quinlan, Vice Chair Hold, and members of the committee. Chung Chang, Deputy Director for DBED. We thank you for hearing this measure. It's an administration bill. We stand on our testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members' questions? Now moving on to HB 2086 relating to the Film and Creative Industries Special Fund. First up, we have DBED in support.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is an administration bill. We stand on our testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tax Foundation with comments.
Thank you, Chair and members. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. This bill exemplifies what we call special fund scope creep, where we have a special fund that is primarily, whether it's intended or not, I don't know, but it has the effect of taking things outside the legislative appropriation oversight process and makes the problem larger rather than smaller. So we would urge caution if the committee decides to entertain this type of bill. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Tom, members' questions? Seeing none, moving on to HB 2131. First up, we have DOTAX in support.
DOTAX stands on its written comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Chamber in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Chamber of Commerce Hawaii. We stand on a written testimony in support. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Hawaii Children's Action Network in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. We support this bill for the EITC, although it would be better if it not only extended it to 2028, but made it permanent and refundable so all low-income families could get the full amount of their credit. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have Tax Foundation with comments.
Thank you, Chair and members. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. We have fairly extensive written comments. We are wondering why the revenue loss from this is estimated to increase from year to year, which is kind of something which is really, we've been really wondering about. The increases average around 20%, which is more than an inflationary adjustment. Definitely ever expanding revenue loss is something to be concerned about. We'd have to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Members, questions? Seeing none, moving on to HB 2225 relating to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. First up, we have the Chamber in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Chamber of Commerce Hawaii. We stand on our written testimony in support, and we really appreciate you bringing this bill. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have HTDC in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Len Higashi, Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. First off, thank you for hearing this bill. HTDC stands in support of this bill. These are core programs for HTDC funded since 2016, but last year, because of the budget shortfalls with the pandemic, were not funded. So appreciate your hearing this bill. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have Mackay Ocean Engineering in support.
Good morning, everyone. This is Herman Kugler, Vice President of Business Development at Mackay. I stand on my written testimony in support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, we have the Hawaii Food Industry Association in support. They may not be with us today. Very well. In that case, members' questions. None. Moving on. HB 2228 relating to film infrastructure tax credit. First up, we have DOTAX with comments.
Yes, Chair. We find the provisions that limits our auditing powers very, very problematic. Thank you, Chair. We stand on our comments.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have Chris Lee, University of Hawaii, in support.
Thank you, Chair. We stand on our testimony and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have SAG-AFTRA in support. Marisha, are you with us today?
Yep, I am. Thank you. Good morning. And thank you for thinking and supporting our industry always. And we stand in support of our testimony. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have IATSE. Irish, are you with us today? In support, of course. Oh, not here. Next up, we have Island Film Group in support. Carter, are you?
Yes. Yes. Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. You know, we are in support of this, obviously, as part of the film and TV community and a provider of infrastructure. We would like to suggest a couple things. One, that the minimum amount of spend be reduced to $500,000. There are existing facilities that could use quite a bit of upgrade and improvement that would not require the building of an entire new facility. And so long as these upgrades are approved in association with DBED, we think that a $500,000 minimum spend would be appropriate. Secondly, the tax credit under this bill would be non-refundable, which is an inefficient method of tax credit for the state, because non-refundable credits tend to have to be transferred at a discount. So the state pays the full dollar, but the taxpayer who is, made these investments receives a smaller amount. So basically, the only winners are the brokers or the people who buy the tax credits. Secondly, we'd like to point out that if it's going to be some sort of transferable credit, that the folks who do actually get these credits do need some sort of assurance that they are not going to be audited for the tax credit if there's some problem, that it would be the organization that actually did the construction that would be audited and subject to any sort of penalties or fines. So thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have Tax Foundation with comments.
Thank you, Chair, members. Tom Yamachika for Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We've submitted written comments, the basic thrust of which is we are concerned about yet another tax credit, which basically is a blank check. We would prefer that the legislature appropriate funds. That way you know how much you're spending and you know what you're getting for it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Tom. Next up, we have Sandy Wong, individual, in support.
Yes, Chair, I'm here. So I would just echo the testimony of Island Film. If I may, Chair, I just wanted to note Island Film and myself submitted testimony for HB 1982, and I didn't hear you read us off, and so I just wanted to just clarify that for the record, because Island Film had supported portions of the bill but opposed portions of the bill. If you don't have it, I can get it to your staff later today.
I'm sorry, I don't see you on the testifiers list, but please do send me whatever you have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much. Sorry about that. Okay. Members, questions?
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? You're
We
not
also,
on here either. Go ahead.
Sorry, Chair. Yes, on behalf of the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, Georgia Skinner, head of the Creative Industries Division, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. We do support anything that will help improve our infrastructure and building new infrastructure, which we desperately need. We would note that we offer comments and defer to the comments again mentioned by DOTAX in regards to the impacts, fiscal impacts to our state. Lastly, I think it's critical if this measure moves forward, DBED will not be able to perform what we need to without 2 additional positions with the expertise in the areas that are noted in the bill. Thank you very much, and I'm here for questions.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Members, questions? Seeing none, moving on to HB 2409, relating to the economy. First up, we have Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority in support. Gwen, are you with us?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of committee. We stand on our testimony, written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have HCDA in support.
Morning, Chair Quinlan, Vice Chair Holt, and members of the committee. Craig Nakamoto for HCDA. We stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the Hawaii State Energy Office in support.
Yes, good morning, Chair Quinlan, Vice Chair Holt, members of the committee. The Energy Office stands on its testimony and support. I would like to add, however, that we were able to announce that Hawaii is going to receive more than $17 million in federal funds to support EV charging infrastructure through a new formula grant from the U.S. Departments of Transportation and Energy. And this will be for providing a national electric vehicle infrastructure program. And so this will be for us to create statewide EV stations. And so therefore our $5 million that we're requesting in this bill to accelerate the state fleet transition to zero emission vehicles as set forth in last year's Act 74 would be supported with this federal funds by having EV charging infrastructure. So we appreciate your consideration of the bill. I stand by for questions.
Next up, we have DBET in support.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, we thank you for hearing this bill. It establishes a public policy framework that addresses state goals in areas of economic disaster mitigation, economic diversification, import substitution, and community development. We have with us today DBET subject matter experts to answer your questions on the measure, and we stand by on our testimony and support. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Next up, we have NELHA in support. NELHA may not be with us. And last, we have HTDC in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Len Higashi, Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. We submitted testimony in support of this bill. I'll point out that we request for your consideration converting 2 FTE from our HCAT program from federal funds to general funds in support of this overarching policy framework. Thank you I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Members, questions? Oh, NELHA is here. NELHA, are you with us?
I am. Thank you. Sorry, Chair. We stand in support and stand on our written testimony. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Members, questions? Seeing them, moving on to HB 2414 relating to GET exemptions. First up, we have DOTAX with comments.
We stand on our written comments, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the Hawaii Diaper Bank in support.
Aloha, Chair. Thank you so much. My name is Jessica Histo. I am the founder and president of the Hawaii Diaper Bank. We are the state's first nonprofit organization that provides diapers, wipes, and other basic essentials to low-income families in need. I am here in support of House Bill 2414. As a mother, I understand what it's like to worry about your child's well-being and that a diaper is not just a diaper. The Hawaii Diaper Bank actually serves 1 in 3 families that struggle to afford diapers to keep their child clean, dry, and healthy. During the pandemic, we actually saw an increase of more than 150% of families statewide reaching out for help. I am here on behalf of the 10,000 keiki under the age of 5 who are living in poverty and whose families cannot afford the rising cost of diapers here in our state. I am also here on behalf of the mother running from an abusive situation who was living out of her car and reached out to us, reached out to our organization, basically desperately in need of diapers for her 2 children. I am here on behalf of the father who is working hard to break out of the system and not repeat generational patterns, who states that receiving help from us with diapers means one less thing for him to worry about. I'm also here on behalf of the grandmother who has assumed care of her 4 grandchildren and who has been basically reusing her disposable diapers just to save some money. I'm here on behalf of the families statewide that we do not serve, and that this bill would help aid in our fight against diaper need, providing immediate relief to these families struggling economically. I appreciate your opportunity to give testimony today. I've also given written testimony in support with more information on diaper need, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica, and really thank you for everything that you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Hawaii Children's Action Network in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Thanks again for hearing this bill. And just reflecting everything that Jessica said. Exempting diapers from the GET would help some families make ends meet here in Hawaii, and it's one thing that you could do for struggling working families here in Hawaii. Thank you very much.
So much. Next up, we have Retail Merchants of Hawaii in support. Tina, are you with us? Not here. Okay, no problem. Next, we have Tax Foundation with comments. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. We will stand on our written comments. We'd like to add that if this committee wants to move the bill forward, if you think this is a good idea as a public policy matter, then you really should add a parallel use tax exemption so that people won't be penalized if they bring in the diapers from somewhere other than Hawaii.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have HFIA in support. I don't think they're with us, though, right? They're not here. All right. Members' questions. Seeing none, moving on to HB 2439, relating to small business loans. First up, we have HGIA in support. When are you with us?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Dennis Ling of DBED in support. Dennis, are you with us?
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, Dennis Ling with DBED. DBED stands on its written testimony in support of this measure, offering comments also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Chamber of Commerce in support. Trevor, are you with us?
Yes, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Chamber of Commerce Hawaii. We stand in support of this bill. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Next up, we have HCDC in support.
Thank you, Chair. HTDC stands on our written testimony in support of this bill.
And last, we have HFIA in support, but they are not here. Members, I'd like to beg your indulgence and go back to the first bill on the agenda. I believe we did have someone that wanted to testify on HB 1502. Is that individual still present?
Yes, I am.
Oh, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi, my name is John Dutzman. I apologize. My first time around with this and did not know I had to provide written testimony and live testimony. But however, I know the Attorney General gave his opinion on this bill about geographic restrictions of repeat offenders, but the judges and the prosecutors are not enforcing this. And let me tell you about my personal experience here. In May, I was an innocent victim of a very frightening and dangerous harassment. Guy was convicted and then went along to do the same thing to 7 other people, and he's still at it. In June, my husband and I were victims of a dangerous, scary harassment by another individual who threatened to kill us, called us faggots, and so on and so forth. He was convicted and went on to rack up 37 cases after that, and 13 convictions just last year alone. Based on arrest logs in my very small neighborhood in Waikiki, 85 people were arrested here with between 20 and 200 career cases. Many of them, one of them had 185 cases in just 2021. We are swarming in chronic troublemakers here. Nobody's doing anything about it. If the judges are supposed to do something about it and the prosecutors, they are not doing anything about it. A bill that would ban troublemakers from their troublemaking zones would be good for the troublemakers because they stay away from trouble and stay away from their colleagues of trouble. And you are the Attorney General. I don't know if he gets out of the office much, or any of you do. I suggest that you come down to Waikiki, the goose that lays the golden egg economically, and see what the innocent residents, the innocent visitors, the innocent businesses are going through. There's an urgency here, an enormity of the problem, and the answer isn't, oh, the prosecutor and the judges do this anyway. Something has to be done, and it's almost unbearable, and it's the #1 topic of every single neighborhood meeting all last year. So I apologize, I didn't follow the exact protocol here, but I felt this has to be said, and it shouldn't be just a bunch of people who don't get out of the office making decisions on this. I'm telling you, it's whatever's going on right now is not working. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, for your comments. And quite frankly, I agree with a lot of them. All right, members, that is the end of our agenda. We will now recess for DM. agenda. First up, we have HB 1502 relating to safe neighborhoods. We're going to make some technical amendments. And page 1, line 8, the term resort zoned areas is not defined. So we're going to clarify the definition: an act that occurred within a single business district or an area zoned for resort or resort hotel use by the appropriate county land use authority. Members, questions, comments, concerns?
Brief comment, Chair.
Please.
I wanted to thank those. I really appreciated the written testimonies that were shared, and as well as in on Zoom. I think, like everybody, we want our community safe. So I support the intent of the bill. I will be voting no today based on just the AG's testimony that this bill is duplicative and this already exists. So I just want to make clear that those people who submitted testimony understand where my no vote is coming from. So I'll be voting no today, Chair, based on those issues.
Rep. Kobayashi.
I have a similar sentiment as my colleague, Representative Okimoto, that it is duplicative, although it is a good bill, so I'll be voting no as well.
Thank you very much. If there's any further questions, comments, or concerns?
Chair,
Sayama.
thank you. Similar to the concerns expressed by Representative Okimoto, I'll be voting with reservations on this measure.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes, Chair. Me too. Same request.
Members, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
HB 1502, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments. Chair Quinlan.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes WR. Representative Bellotti.
Aye.
Kobayashi votes no. Representative Onishi.
Aye.
Sayama votes WR. Representative Takayama. Representative Takayama, sorry, didn't hear you.
Aye.
Representative Okimoto is a no. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 1702 relating to taxation. We're going to defer this measure. It is a little bit too messy. Okay, next up, we have HB 1982 relating to taxes. We are going to take all of no taxes suggested amendments, including adding the 4 full-time positions, their comments, everything in HRS 235, withholding the tax on loan out companies, and adding a new section, section X, section 10, 4 full-time positions for no tax to keep an eye on tax credit. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 1982, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments, noting the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations or any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much, members. Next up, we have HB 1983 related to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. We're going to be making some amendments to the duties section to technical language and make it comport more with the State Film Commissioner's current duties. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 1983, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments, noting the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? Do we have any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much. Next up, members, we have HB 2082. We're going to make some technical amendments and defect the date to October 18, 2050. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2082, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments, noting the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations or no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 2086 relating to the Hawaii Film and Creative Industries Development Special Fund. Members, we're going to defect the date to October 18, 2050. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2086, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments, noting the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? Do we have any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. HB 2131 relating to the earned income tax credit. Chair Nishi, questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, sir. Chair, I have concerns. The House Majority Package has a similar measure in it that makes the earned income tax credit permanent and refundable, which this bill does not. So I'll be voting with reservations.
Thanks very much, members. I'd like to pass this measure out as is. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2131, Chair's recommendation is to pass the measure as is. In the presence of all members, sorry, Onishi, was that reservations or no? WR. WR for
I'll
Onishi,
go with reservations. Rep. Bellotti.
reservations for Bellotti. Any further reservations?
Reservations from myself. This is
Reservations for
okay.
Tagliano. Any further reservations? Any further no vote or any no votes? Seeing none, all others voting aye, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 2225 relating to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. Members, I'd like to pass this measure as is. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2225, Chair's recommendation to pass unamended. None in the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? Have any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 2228. We're going to be making technical amendments as well as we're going to strike out anything in the bill that limits no taxes enforcement powers, specifically the line about sole and exclusive remedy. The Department of Director shall be seek collection of the amount of tax credits. Not want to limit no tax. Members, questions, comments, concerns. Oh, and blank on all the amounts. And effective date to October 18, 2050. Members, questions, comments, concerns. Rep. Kobayashi.
All right, just to clarify, this is HB 2228, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been on record in the past as opposing the film tax credit, the general tax credit, as how it was structured, just from a cost benefit point of view, as to whether we are getting necessary investment in that industry as a result of that credit, and whether we would get it or not. And I'd called for a little more of a study before we continue to extend that. Now we're looking at adding another credit for film infrastructure for the same industry. My comments before were that when we had the original, the main film tax credit, we had a cap on it, and industry came in, and although we are giving them this credit, their complaint was that we shouldn't have a cap on it. In this case, we have a infrastructure tax credit with a minimum of $3 million. And same thing, we have this basically gift to industry, and industry's complaint is that they shouldn't have the minimum. It should be 500,000 instead of 3 million. So I just can't agree with a lot of aspects of this tax credit. I'm a strong no vote on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2228, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments. None in the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? And we have a no vote from Kobayashi. Any further no votes? See none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 2409. Relating to the economy, we will be making technical amendments, and unfortunately, we also need to strike out all references to the Solarize Y&I project. Members, questions, comments, concerns?
Chair.
Chair Nishi.
Yes, Chair, with your indulgence, I'd like to recommend a amendment to the bill on page 5, paragraph 4, talking about import substitution. If we could, after the word fuels on the third line, add and the impact of consumable imported goods. So they would be also allowed for consideration import substitution funding.
I think that's an excellent idea. We will be taking Chair Onishi's amendment as well.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2409, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments, noting the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? Do we have any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. The next measure is HB 2414 relating to general excise tax exemptions for diapers. Members, I would like to pass this measure as is. Questions, comments, concerns? Rep. Kobayashi.
I was a little confused as to the intent of something like this, where we're basically giving preferential tax treatment to a particular industry that, to my knowledge, is not either essential to our island economy or in particular distress financially. Given especially recent events within this body, the idea of giving preferential treatment to any particular industry without strong justification is really a mistake at this point. I'm a no vote on this. Thank you.
Rep. Kobayashi, I think it's quite a stretch to say that this is somehow related to the events of the past week and that we are being preferential toward one industry or another. We're trying to be preferential towards an age group.
So for me, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the appearance of preferential treatment for any industry is a mistake at this point. I'm not in any way saying that that is the driver of this bill. I'm saying if we are going to proceed, especially now, we need to do so very carefully because the public expects us to have a lot more oversight over the money that we are entrusted with to make sure that it is not being used in ways that is not in the public benefit. Although in this case, I'm not at all saying that that is the case here. We just need to avoid that perception.
Duly noted, and I'd like to add that the public also expects us to help working families. Members, further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
House Bill 2414, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Not in the presence of all members. Do we have any reservations? And we have a no vote for Kobayashi. Any other no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Next up, we have HB 2439 relating to small business loans. We're making technical amendments and we'll be adding language to allow the special fund to look at other sources, grants, donations, public and private sources, federal funding as well. And we're going to defect the date to October 18, 2050. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2439, Chair's recommendation to pass with amendments. Not in the presence of all members, do we have any reservations? Have any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much, members. We are adjourned.